the high-velocity world of viral fame, we often celebrate the overnight success without ever stopping to examine the true human cost. But in 2026, the heartbreaking reason behind Courtney's sudden disappearance from the global spotlight is finally coming to light through a series of industry revelations. Tonight, our investigative team is deconstructing the silent collapse of a prodigy who was once hailed as the absolute future of rock and roll, following her 2018 golden buzzer moment on America's Got Talent. While the global audience waited for a debut album that seemed perpetually delayed, Courtney was reportedly navigating a private struggle that had nothing to do with a lack of artistic talent and everything to do with a corporate system that nearly broke her creative spirit before she reached adulthood. As we move through the first quarter of 2026, new reports suggest that her famous vanishing act was not a choice made out of ego or a lack of ambition, but rather a desperate and necessary act of self-preservation by a teenager who found herself trapped in a golden cage of impossible expectations and immense industry pressure. This investigation seeks to uncover how one of the most promising voices of a generation was silenced by the very machine that claimed to discover her, and how she eventually fought her way back from the brink of professional extinction. To understand why a talent of this magnitude would walk away from a multi-million-dollar career path, one must first understand the paralyzing social anxiety that lived just beneath Courtney's explosive stage presence, a condition that made her sudden global celebrity a sensory nightmare of the highest order. In 2018, the world saw a shy girl who transformed into a vocal lion, but investigative sources in 2026 reveal that the lion was often a sophisticated defense mechanism for a child who was internally terrified of the very cameras that made her famous. Reports indicate that following her reality television run, the level of public scrutiny became so overwhelming that Courtney allegedly struggled to perform basic daily tasks, feeling as though she was being watched and judged at every moment by a digital audience of millions. This was not merely a case of stage fright. It was a profound psychological struggle to reconcile her private, introverted identity with the aggressive persona that the music industry demanded she maintain 24 hours a day. By 2020, the weight of this dual identity became unbearable, leading to a total withdrawal from public life, as she sought to protect what remained of her mental well-being in a world that refused to give her the space to breathe or grow at her own pace. Perhaps the most heartbreaking and damaging element of Courtney's early career was the relentless wave of industry plant accusations that surfaced almost immediately after her audition, effectively placing a target on the back of a 13-year-old girl who was ill-equipped for such vitriol. While the public debated with cynical intensity whether her shy personality was a calculated marketing lie, Courtney was reportedly receiving thousands of hateful messages across social media that questioned her fundamental authenticity and her character. In 2026, insiders close to her family have shared how these baseless accusations deeply wounded her psyche, leading to a spiral of self-doubt that made her question if she even deserved the success she had worked so hard to achieve. This digital toxicity created a hostile environment where Courtney felt that no matter how hard she performed, she would always be seen as a fake by a subset of the internet, leading her to believe that the only way to find peace was to disappear entirely. The psychological toll of being labeled a fraud at such a vulnerable age is a central theme in her 2026 recovery, as she works to reclaim a narrative that was stolen from her by anonymous critics who mistook her previous experience for a lack of genuine soul. Every story of a fallen star has a definitive breaking point, and for Courtney, that moment reportedly arrived in late 2019, when the pressure to produce a perfect, radio-friendly debut album under a major label became a crushing and unbearable weight. Recent 2025 and 2026 retrospectives have uncovered a narrative of a young artist who felt her immense gift had become a curse that was being exploited for corporate gain rather than artistic expression. Reports suggest that she felt dehumanized by a recording process that saw her as a product to be polished and sold to the masses, rather than a human being with a unique voice and a specific vision. This period of intense creative friction led to a total professional shutdown, where Courtney allegedly refused to sing for months at a time, effectively going on a creative strike against her own talent to prevent it from being misused. This was the true beginning of the long silence, a heartbroken girl choosing to lose her voice entirely rather than let it be used as a pawn by people who didn't understand the complex person standing behind the microphone. It was a stand for artistic integrity that few adults would have the courage to take, let alone a teenager under the intense glare of the global spotlight. While fans across the globe wondered why no significant music was being released between 2020 and 2024, our investigation reveals that Courtney was caught in a legal stagnation trap that left her career in a state of professional mourning for years. Our 2026 report finds that she was bound by high-stakes contracts that gave her virtually no say in her own artistic direction, leading to a prolonged standoff with major label executives who favored a pop-centric sound. She reportedly refused to release generic songs that she felt were a betrayal of her rock and soul roots, but the label infrastructure refused to let her release the grittier material she was actually writing. This created a legal gridlock that lasted for half a decade, during which Courtney was prohibited from releasing music elsewhere, but was creatively blocked from releasing it within her own label's system. This period of forced silence is perhaps the most tragic chapter of her untold story, as it effectively robbed her of her most formative artistic years during a time when her momentum should have been at its peak. It was a battle of wills between a young girl and a multi-billion-dollar machine, and the resulting silence was a testament to her refusal to compromise her artistic soul for a quick hit on the charts. In a deeply personal revelation that has only emerged in early 2026, sources close to the singer have hinted at the extreme lengths Courtney nearly went to in order to stop the noise of her own celebrity during her darkest hours of isolation. A heartbreaking narrative suggests that at the height of her industry pressure, she felt so owned by the public and her label that she contemplated symbolically destroying her own image just to regain a sense of personal freedom and anonymity. While we must tread carefully with these sensitive reports, they highlight a critical and necessary conversation about the mental health of child prodigies in the digital era. Courtney's 2026 perspective on this time is one of survival and resilience, as she has recently spoken about the heavy darkness she had to navigate to find her way back to the light. This wasn't just a simple career hiatus. It was a life-saving retreat from a spotlight that was burning her out from the inside and threatening to consume her identity entirely. The tragedy of the golden handcuffs is that the very success she dreamed of became the instrument of her confinement, requiring a total break from the industry to finally begin the long and difficult process of psychological and professional healing. Fast forward to the present day, and the 2026 rebirth of Courtney is being hailed by critics and fans alike as a monumental triumph of the human spirit over the crushing weight of the celebrity machine. Her return to the spotlight as a fully independent artist isn't just a savvy career move. It is the final stage of a multi-year healing process that required her to burn her old life to the ground before she could rebuild it. By releasing her recent project, Little Miss Jagged, entirely on her own terms and through her own channels, she has finally found a way to share her true, unfiltered voice without the interference of major label handlers. Our analysis of her 2026 live shows reveals a woman who is no longer trembling because she is afraid of the audience, but shaking with the sheer power of her own reclaimed agency and vocal strength. She has turned her heartbreak into a sonic weapon of defiance, proving to the world that you can survive the worst parts of the music industry if you have the immense courage to walk away and wait for your own time to shine. This new era is marked by a raw, unpolished energy that is a direct response to the years she spent being told to be perfect, quiet, and marketable. In 2026, Courtney has finally made peace with her shy girl past, acknowledging it as a legitimate and beautiful part of her journey, rather than a marketing gimmick that needed to be defended or hidden from the public. She has addressed her long struggle with social anxiety, with a level of transparency that has inspired millions of young fans who struggle with similar issues, turning what was once seen as a weakness into a powerful point of human connection. By 2026, She has proven that being shy and being a world-class are not mutually exclusive states of being, but rather two sides of the same complex and deeply feeling human being. This reclamation of her identity is a central theme of her recent music, where she sings openly about the loud silence of her missing years and the peace she found in the shadows away from the cameras. She has successfully unmasked the mystery for her audience, showing the world that she never faked her anxiety. She simply learned how to live with it while maintaining her status as a global icon. Her story is a testament to the fact that vulnerability is not a liability, but the very foundation of the authentic art that has allowed her to rebuild her career from the ground up. One of the most impactful and lasting elements of Courtney's 2026 return is her new role as a mentor of caution for the next generation of viral stars who are currently entering the reality television system with dreams of overnight fame. She has used her various platforms to speak candidly about the unseen dangers of the golden buzzer and the absolute importance of having a strong support system that values the person far above the performer. In 2026, Courtney is no longer just a singer. She has become a symbol of a growing movement toward ethical stardom, advocating for much better mental health protections for minors in the music business. Her heartbreaking reason for disappearing has become her most powerful and resonant message, as she teaches others that it is perfectly okay to walk away from a golden opportunity if it begins to cost you your soul. She has turned her personal tragedy into a vital teaching moment for the industry, ensuring that her missing years were not in vain, but served as the catalyst for a much-needed conversation about how we treat our young artists. Her advocacy is paving the way for a future where talent is nurtured rather than exploited for a quick spike in television ratings. As we conclude our investigation into the heartbreaking reason why Courtney disappeared from the spotlight, the final 2026 verdict is one of absolute victory for the individual over the industry machine. She survived the crushing weight of 1 billion views, the relentless cruelty of online hate, and the legal chains of a major label to emerge as the artist she was always meant to become. What really happened to Courtney? She put her mental health before her career. She put her soul before her celebrity, and against all odds, she won the battle for her own identity. Her 2026 journey is a powerful and enduring reminder that while the spotlight can be blinding and destructive, the fire of authenticity burns much brighter and longer in the grand scheme of things. The shy girl is back on the world stage, but this time, she's doing it entirely on her own terms, proving that the most beautiful thing about a disappearance is the moment you finally decide to be seen as your true self. Her story ends not with a question of where she went, but with a statement of where she is going, as she leads a new era of rock music built on the foundation of honesty, resilience, and an unbreakable spirit.